gosh, being on Ice Road Truckers, I never thought 3 months of my life would change my entire life.
They were the faces that made Ice Road Truckers more than just a show about heavy trucks. They were characters we laughed with, rooted for, and sometimes even argued about from our couches. But behind the scenes, some of these beloved cast members faced struggles the cameras never showed. So, what really happened to them? Join us as we reveal the mysteries surrounding Ice Road Truckers that will leave you surprised. Hugh Rowland. Hugh Rowland, also known as the Polar Bear, was one of the most fearless drivers on Ice Road Truckers. With his unwavering strength, he carried the loads across extreme storms, frozen lakes, and places where most people wouldn't even dare to survive. Hugh wasn't just a driver, he was a true leader. Eventually, he built his own company named VP Express. He was tough, confident, and always in control. Hugh was the only driver you could count on to get the job done, without any excuses. But in 2014, Hugh's life took an unexpected turn. While riding in a truck with the show's producer, Hugh thought it was just another day at work, until everything changed. The truck lost control, and within a few seconds, it ended in a devastating crash. Hugh was rushed to the hospital and underwent several surgeries. The man known for his true courage and strength was now suffering in hospital, learning to recover. The pain wasn't just physical, it was emotional, where each day felt like a hammer pounding on his body. However, Hugh pushed through and slowly began to recover, but it didn't stop there. Soon after his recovery, Hugh filed a lawsuit against the production, claiming the accident had ended his career on the show. But instead of showing mercy through the tough times, the company ended Hugh's career altogether. The producers distanced themselves, and even his fellow drivers, who had known him for years, stayed silent. The man who thought he was always in control suddenly realized he wasn't anymore. Over time, Hugh stepped away from television. He began to focus on his own business and taking better care of his family. But in the end, he never returned to the show. Hugh's story reminds us that even the toughest men among us are fragile, not by accident, but by the real pain of being distanced by the people he trusted the most. Art Burke. Art Burke brought a unique energy to the show. With his fiery personality and extreme rides, he quickly became a fan favorite. Art was never one to back down. He spoke his mind, thrived in chaos, and lived a life filled with intensity. He was always ready for the next challenge. Born on June 12, 1963 in Yellowknife, from an early age he carried the toughness in him. Many thought he was reckless, but in reality, Art pushed himself not just for fame, but for survival. He had the heart of a fighter, and that's what made him stand out from the rest. But Art's journey wasn't always smooth. In the early days of his career, he worked for VP Express, where he was mistreated and undervalued for his work. Eventually, Hugh fired him, a decision that left Art struggling with self-doubt that he wasn't enough. But instead of giving up, Art joined the rival company, Polar Industries, determined to prove Hugh wrong. But in 2018, everything changed. On a normal day, Art was trying to make cannabis oil using butane, a complex process which required laboratory assistance, but Art tried to test the reaction inside his home. However, it turned into a massive explosion. His home was scattered into pieces with $60,000 in property loss. But the real damage was physical. With over 40% of his body totally burned, doctors were uncertain of Art's survival. However, he slowly began to show signs of progress. But that wasn't the whole story. Even after his recovery, Art was faced with criminal charges, followed by 18 months of house arrest. He had lost his home, his safety, and even the savings he had worked for all his life. The man who risked his life for every paycheck was now left with nothing but sadness and isolation. After the show ended in November 2017, Art's situation turned critical without any stable income. His life has been shaped by recovery but struggled by consequences. Fans who followed his journey from the very beginning noticed his decline from an unstoppable driver to a man living under the grief of one huge mistake. But most people never really knew why Art was trying to make cannabis extract. Reports later suggested that Art was faced with an emotional battle that many left unnoticed. His wife had been diagnosed with breast cancer, and the money from the show wasn't enough to help her survive, so he started to find ways to help meet her treatment requirements. Art had been dealing with accidents, injuries, and hardships his entire life, but in the end, danger was the only option to save his family. But the next person faced something far more devastating. Alex Debogorski. Alex Debogorski was one of the earliest stars of Ice Road Truckers. For viewers, he wasn't just a trucker, he was more like family. Alex built a reputation for being tough, hardworking, and deeply faithful towards his job. He always loved helping others and told stories that often made people laugh. His sense of warmth balanced the dangers of those icy roads, but then something strange happened. During his early seasons on the show, Alex suffered from pulmonary embolism, a condition causing blood clots due to sudden blockage of arteries. He even had to step away from the deadliest road season due to extreme conditions where his health was at primary risk. However, Alex faced something no parent could ever withstand. Alex's son, Andrew, had been battling ALS for nearly 18 months. Doctors said he had only a 5% chance of survival. Still, Andrew kept fighting. But life doesn't always go as expected. During a normal day, there was a sudden outburst of flames in the basement of Andrew's home. His wife and kids escaped in time, but unfortunately, Andrew had been trapped in his wheelchair and couldn't make it out. He took his last breath on December 28, 2018. Alex was in tremendous pain. He had worked hard all those years to protect his family, but watching his son die tragically was an emotional moment that stayed with him for the rest of his life. Through it all, Alex carried more than just heavy loads. From Hugh's truck accident to Daryl's plane crash, Alex witnessed it all, but with each loss, the weight of isolation grew heavier. Even today, Alex began to spend more time with family, but he still prioritized trucking. Alex reminds us that the greatest battles aren't on those icy roads, but deep into ourselves, and those are the ones that truly matter. Rick Yem. Rick Yem was an interesting personality on Ice Road Truckers. Known for his vivid blue hair and a reputation for being loud and sometimes too hard to handle, he often clashed with Lisa Kelly, accusing her for being too selfish. But as the seasons went on, Rick was involved in frequent disputes with producers of the show regarding creative control. He often expressed his frustration on how the show felt staged and forced behind-the-scenes conflicts. Yet, the show began to portray Rick's explosive behavior and mismanagement of equipment. Behind the scenes, however, things may have been different. In 2019, after a normal day of work, Rick started to feel tired with eyes dizzy and hands out of control. Rick suddenly collapsed onto the floor. He was rushed to the hospital and doctors revealed that Rick suffered from congestive heart failure. The fact that it had been building up for months made it even scarier because he hadn't seen it coming. He ended up needing surgery, and 1 month later he gave an update saying his heart function was back to 40%, which meant it was getting stronger. Today, Rick lives a peaceful life in Galesburg, running his own dealership. Rick Yem will always be remembered as someone who refused to play by the rules, even if it meant sacrificing everything. Daryl Ward. Daryl Ward was born on August 13, 1964, in Montana. He made his first appearance in Season 6. Daryl quickly became one of the most dependable truckers on the show. Fans admired him not just for his driving, but for the way he carried himself, steady, humble, and always grounded. But unfortunately, more pain was still waiting just around the corner. On August 28, 2016, Daryl boarded a small plane to Montana for his new show based on restoring old trucks. It was supposed to be the start of a new adventure, but he never made it through. The plane lost control and eventually crashed. Daryl died on August 28, 2016 at 52 years old. The news left fans stunned. People close to Daryl experienced the grief of a lifetime. The Ice Road Truckers community shared a heartfelt message on his untimely passing. Daryl might not have been with us till the very end, but his legacy still lives in the memories of those he inspired. Lisa Kelly. Lisa Kelly was the most beloved member on Ice Road Truckers. Born on December 8, 1980 in Michigan, she was the first female driver on the show. In an industry dominated by men, Lisa proved to be an exception, but she faced criticism for her ability. She wasn't trying to be a star, she was trying to earn respect through hard work and resilience. But in 2016, Lisa's journey came to a sudden halt. She was involved in a devastating crash. The impact caused multiple broken bones and internal damage. Lisa underwent numerous surgeries following months of rehabilitation. Meanwhile, the constant stress of battling life-threatening conditions on the show made her feel exhausted. Through it all, Lisa kept pushing forward. After Ice Road Truckers ended in 2017, Lisa started her own business and remains active in the trucking world. Lisa's story is one of quiet strength. Through every accident, every icy road, and every grueling experience, she proved that toughness isn't measured by gender, it's measured by perseverance. So who's your favorite Ice Road Truckers member? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you liked this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for further updates, and click the next video on screen now for another interesting story.